tangent. So, body paint, seal it. But I did Shiroba, I did Yoden Loki way back when.
Don't hug people.
Don't hug people, I did Mystique. But basically, what you're gonna do, it's all gonna depend on what you want it to function for. Your best bet anytime is gonna be airbrush. That's also gonna be the most expensive, and you need someone to apply it for you.
Unless you're really talented.
Yeah, unless you're freaky talented and bendy. So I have a friend who actually pays a professional body painter to do her airbrush. It looks very nice. It is expensive. If you have like your basic costume stores, you're gonna have options of oil-based or water-based.
Alcohol-based.
And alcohol-based. I never use alcohol-based because
I'll chime in about alcohol-based because that's what I have experience with.
Okay, which is good because I've done everything but alcohol-based. It wreaks havoc on my skin. It's all really gonna depend on what your skin can take. So I say before you do anything with body paint, run tests. Buy the different kinds and different shades, buy the smallest you can.
Buy the remover.
Yes, and buy the remover. And just do little tests, see what gets you the shade you want at the consistency you want, and feels okay. If you do a full body paint, don't wear it for too long. Okay, but I actually, it seems like common sense, but I know people who have spent like whole days in it and they pass out because what it does is it sits on top of your skin and you can't breathe. So.
That was me.
Oh my god.
So I did Death from Sandman. Yeah.
I remember that.
I know, right? Great costume. It was really fun. I had a good time. But since she wears all black while she's painted white, I decided I was going to go with alcohol-based. I didn't have an airbrush, so I did it by hand. Alcohol-based paint is awesome. It'll stay on. It's not going anywhere. And when I say it'll stay on, I mean, I put it on, and I wore it all weekend, and I showered in it, and I slept in it, and it even survived a hot tub. And I had to have someone like help scrub me off with makeup remover wipes. It still didn't come off all the way, but so buy the remover. But it didn't go on any of my clothes. Didn't go on anybody else. Looks great in pictures. And yeah, it was. I'll do it again with an airbrush and with the remover.
Again, like with body paint, if you're doing a lot of it over a large surface area, be careful, keep in mind how your body is feeling. If you feel like you're claustrophobic and cloying, that's probably because you're suffocating a little bit. Basically, I will always say, it's the same thing with binding. Don't use ace bandages, and even if you're using a good binder, if you're not used to it, basically when things start getting uncomfortable, take them off. Please take care of yourselves.
Except for shoes, because you
Except
can take
shoes. Yeah, just pain.
Question in the back.
Well, first I have a comment about the alcohol-based body paint. If you have to do any little detail work, it is the best thing. And my friend who had to do a lot of elaborate tattoos and stuff a few years back, he had the same thing. He put the alcohol-based paint on his chest the night before, slept in it. Nothing on the sheets or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It survived the shower. It wasn't until we went in with like steel wool and the remover that the thing came off.
I know, it works really good when you have to
And if you get a really fine tipped brush, that's how you get like
really fine details.
tattoos and stuff. Just get it, don't get it like the total black, get it like a gray black so it looks more like a tattoo.
You can add metallic pigment to it too to make it look really cool. And I didn't use it on my face because the skin everywhere but my face can take a beating. But I was like, I'll just.
It can, because it's alcohol based. That's, isopropanol in it. You put isopropanol, like I think a 90% solution to take it off, so like it can dry your skin.
Yeah, that's why I don't
We
use
live in
it.
Colorado. We're from Colorado, so it's very dry there already. So that's why I was like, I think I'll just leave my face
I had
alone.
an unrelated question as well.
Yeah.
The bane of my existence, this is a family-friendly comment, so I can't use the language I want to use, is making the darn thing fit.
It's okay.
I've been sewing for 10 years, but it's still like, I have a problem making commercial patterns fit me. It's to the point where it's less work for me to draft patterns from scratch and do the math, but I frankly hate that, and I don't know if you had tips about
That's actually
Oh yeah, I understand. Well,
That's actually exactly my problem.
you're shaped like a normal person.
But I'm not. I have, if anyone knows who Devon is, I have her measurements when I'm not bound. And when I was younger, clothes didn't fit me. I have long legs and curves, but I'm tiny.
I'm a pencil. I'm flat and broad like a barn. But
So I actually, what I did was I found that altering commercial patterns was more trouble than it was worth. I just started drafting my own. For altering commercial ones, what I know what people have done, again, I don't do it because I prefer to draft my own. So yeah.
I alter commercial patterns.
I just don't like math. I just don't like the math part of drafting.
I don't math.
It's not well. It's more geometry than math. I know. Think of it as. I mean, I can't really call it anything but geometry. But if you take you have to include your measurements in it somehow, because as someone who does commissions many a time, in fact, right before this convention, I did a Madoka commission, and it was going perfectly, and I forgot to keep checking measurements as I drafted it down, and it ended up being 2 inches small the night before it was due. Fixed that. Good save. But commercial patterns are a good base to work from, and here we'll remember that you're next, so you don't have to make your hand fall asleep. I know how that goes.
Should I just pass the Dominator around? Whoever has it.
You can't speak unless you have the Dominator.
Yeah. Just kidding, Dominator.
So commercial patterns, I use them as a good base, and if I know I'm going to need something again and again, I draft it myself and save it. Like bodices, I have an 8-piece, a 4-piece, and a 6-piece bodice pattern that I keep in my measurements, and I use it and alter it when I need it for commissions.
Same.
If you do it once and save it, then you have it, and that's great. I ordered a $20 roll of gigantic butcher paper from Amazon, free 2-day shipping, and that would have been $20 otherwise. But the paper, I've got limitless pattern paper. I just have a glass of grape juice and sit with my pattern and pretty much draft it with some music and a candle, make it very nice for myself, and make it a nice, I know it's like date night, but with my cats.
Yeah.
And it makes it more pleasant if you make it a positive experience and thinking, I've got to draft a pattern. If you do it ahead of time and plan it as something like, I'm going to do this and then I'll be able to use it forever and never have to do it again, then you do it right once and then keep it, if that makes sense. Is that helpful? Yes, good? And again, if you are drafting patterns, I do suggest buying butcher paper or whatever I like butcher paper a lot because it's cheap and
It does help to be
there's
able
a
to
ton of
scan
it, and you can just use anything on it, Sharpies, whatever, it's great. And then you can also just do math on it while you're drafting too, which may not be fun, but it's better to do it on paper instead of on a different sheet. But yeah.
Yeah, basically the reason why I know how to do it and the reason why I don't is because it is really math heavy. You basically have to take your measurements compared to the measurements of a commercial pattern are, and you have to map it out so that you can scale it down while still retaining the shape.
Muslin mock-ups are great.
Yes.
And you don't have to use muslin. You can just use the cheapest fabric that you can find.
I use party satin.
My senpai.
I would get sheets from the store for $1.
That's what my senpai does. My closest Goodwill is 10 minutes away, while my closest fabric store is 5. So I go to the fabric store and pay more, or I order it offline because I've discovered that the internet means I don't actually have to go to the fabric store ever. But if you do a muslin mock-up on your dress form and on yourself, and then you can save that as a pattern too. So that's less mathy and more actually physically shaping it to fit yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's how I do things. I'm a tactile learner. I cannot do anything by way of computing it out, trying it. I have to have it on me and take it in. That's how I've made all of my patterns.
Yep, okay.
So hopefully that was helpful.
Kigurumi in the front.
So I was wondering what you would recommend for traveling with really styles of wigs, that way they don't fall apart or get de-styled in travel. And I believe you said you did armor work.
I do.
Yeah.
Could you just go over the best materials for different parts, like gauntlets or breastplates or your shoes and everything?
First you go buy a bottle of wine, and then you sorry.
Grape juice.
Armor making is hard, but well, for traveling with style, traveling with style wigs. What I do, do you guys have the Container Store out here?
What is that? Is that for cutlery?
Yes,
Oh my
it's a
gosh.
Tupperware
They
store.
don't have the Container Store here.
Oh no, we should start an import business.
I should. Is there? There's only one Container Store?
Okay, we'll go storm the Container Store. That's your homework assignment, everyone.
Okay, Google the Container Store. They sell, like, pretty much they sell containers. They've made a big business out of it too. It's great. You go in there and you're just like, I can store everything I own in these. And they sell really cheap clear plastic, like snap-up boxes, and you can put your styled wigs and other stuff in their shoes. Like I use them for structured props and stuff too, like little ones. And you just shove it in your suitcase. I also use packing cubes, so they sell those there too, and online they're like little zip-up boxes that you put all your clothes in, and it makes it easier to pack. So everything in my suitcase is like a rectangle, and it's like suitcase Tetris. But you can transport wigs that way, and they make big enough ones that you can put like an entire wig on a wig head in there. And do you have any?
Yes. Come prepared to restyle it.
Yeah, that too.
Basically, this
TSA
guy
plays soccer with your bag.
Yes. This guy deflates every time I take him somewhere, and if you're familiar with the character, he literally looks like he just rolled out of bed. It's bad. I don't think the guy brushes his hair. But I basically come equipped with a whole thing of the Tresemme hairspray, which is the only thing that gets my spikes to stick, bobby pins, wig comb, little thinning shears. Basically just pack yourself a wig emergency kit, because if you assume that everything's going to go wrong and you're going to get to your con and all of your styling's going to fall out, your curls, bless you, your curls are going to be terrible. Basically just prepare for disaster. I really do have my wig emergency kit, and it makes when you're prepared for it, when you don't have to use it, it's great, but when you do, you're not freaking out asking your roommates and the people down the hall if they have hairspray.
I actually, kind of related, but a little tangential, I pack a con bug-out bag.
Yes.
Which is it's a doomsday prepper thing for cosplayers and travelers. But I put, wig caps, hairpins, makeup remover wipes, just all the other stuff that I forget, contact solution or soap, etc. And I just have it
kits are great.
in a bag, ready to go. And I actually have my styling wig scissors in there. I forgot that I put them in there until I got here and poured it out. I'm like, oh, well, I'm smarter than I thought I was. But it's good to have a kit that you can just toss in your suitcase when you're going to con, because let's be real, the day before con, you're not done with your stuff. You don't want to pack. It's easier to throw a bag with all your toiletries and wig stuff in the bag that's already packed and been packed all year than scrambling around and forgetting something. And you can buy, again, cheap little bags and just set that up and do it. So.
Yep, I also have, I have my little sewing emergency kit, too. Some needles, some thread, seam ripper, just because you always need it. Everyone in a room is going to need a glue gun, a hand needle, and hairspray.
Oh, and a little known fact, most hotels, especially that take business travelers, will have tiny travel sewing kits at the front desk if you ask. Which they're not very great, but it's enough for repairs and buttons and stuff. And the second half of the question was armor?
It's
traveling.
just best materials for different parts,
It's,
It depends on what you're doing. I've been using, my first armor set was Umi, and I used Warbla. There was a really big learning curve. Somehow I still sold it for a really good chunk of money, but everybody hates their own work, so I guess that's okay. I haven't played with the new Warbla Black yet. I'm hyped too, though, because it's going to be smoother. And my second armor set, which hasn't debuted yet, I used Wonderflex and Warbla.
Wonderflex is interesting.
Wonderflex is smoother. Warbla is more versatile. Wonderflex is smoother, but you can't play with it quite as much. I did figure out that Bondo, while a great thing, is not necessarily the best thing for armor. That you have to really play with Bondo to get it to work.
I like resin. It's really expensive, but you're going to get the nicest looking, most lightweight armor if you resin cast.
Just
but
don't
again,
drop it.
Don't drop your resin. Although actually that kind of depends. My ex-girlfriend had a couple knee pads that we kind of threw around and they survived.
They tested it for some reason.
We did.
But there's a lot of materials out there for armor, and you can use a lot of different stuff, but thermoplastics are very good. You just have to learn what works for you and your method and your style. And I'm not a huge proponent of the gesso and wood glue thing. Gesso is an accident waiting to happen.
Yes.
But yeah, wood glue again might be more flexible. I'm still experimenting, honestly.
I seal my Warbler with wood glue, and it works.
She's a huge disappointment.
I am a huge disappointment, and I'm not wearing it. I made Kogami's bracelet, and it's wood glue seal, and it actually, it's not bad for when you have nothing else that you can do. But basically, with armor, what I've found is I always just recommend playing around with materials. It's going to depend. With thermoplastic especially, how much do you want to bend? I made a Warbler corset. I actually hurt myself because my photographer for a shoot didn't understand that I couldn't turn like that. So I actually, at Anime Expo, I hurt myself in a Warbler corset.
A plastidip is something I've heard is pretty good for armor. I haven't used it personally. I'm iffy about it, but
plastidip is a good way to seal it. You just need so many coats that it can be a pain.
But yeah, there's a lot of resources for armor, but I'm a huge proponent of thermoplastics.
Don't use clay. And don't be like me and make your first ever armor project out of drywall. I was 15 and dumb. And I had drywall sitting around. Don't do it.
Yeah, I had a thought, but I lost it. I'll find it soon, I swear. And you had a question?
What about, what's your opinion on EVA foam?
Oh, Ava foam. Yes,
foam.
that was the thought, actually. Thank you. Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, there's a place online called Foam Factory. And I got, much like my giant roll of butcher paper, I got a roll of Ava foam that's like this thick. And I also got some floor mats for thicker stuff, so I use the thinner stuff for detailing. And then I just put the thermoplastic on top of it and do that.
Ava foam actually works pretty well alone too, if you just want it to stay flexible. Like basically, your thing is gonna be, if you want, with thermoplastic, you're gonna sacrifice any and all flexibility for something that's very durable. But if you keep just the foam, especially if you do Ava foam, you're gonna be able to bend. So generally when I do gauntlets, I made 2 or 3 Loki costumes way back before that was a huge thing. I don't like Loki, but I liked his costumes. Yeah, hipster. I don't like Loki, but I liked his outfits, so I made all of them. But I made all of his gauntlets out of foam because I wanted to be able to move.
Okay.
So yes, foam is cool.
You had a question?
Yeah, I guess a comment. So with the EVA foam, I've made helmets and stuff from it. You can just get it at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's
Yes, you can.
You can find Ava foam at Home Depot or Lowe's. I'm a bargain hunter, so I do go online for lower prices, especially on Amazon because I have 2-day free shipping. Why not? I'd rather wait 2 days and not pay for shipping. But yeah, you can find it at your local hardware store. Some places do carry the giant rolls, some places don't, depending on where you live and what your contractors are doing.
Okay, speaking of Home Depot, real quick, if you buy, I have a friend who does this, if you buy the buckets, you can actually form them and do, my friend made her entire Mass Effect armor out of Home Depot buckets. So that's an option, with a heat gun, yeah. So I think it was you and then you.
Yes.
I just had something to add about, you were talking about plastidip and you brought up the EVA foam as well.
Yes.
When it comes to the EVA foam, you've got to use plastidip or something like that, not only to seal it, but also the foam is porous.
Yes.
So it is going to absorb whatever you spray onto it, whether it be paint or whatever kind of other texture or whatever. You need the plastidip to seal it, make it more rigid, but also to make it so where it'll actually take paint because it'll absorb the paint until you do that.
Yeah, and plastidip keeps paints that your foam doesn't agree with from eating your foam. Which is a thing that happens way too often. But yes, so the summary of that is use plastidip to seal your foam.
Yes.
So it'll take paint. And then Spider.
Yeah, I didn't actually have a question. I was just adding to the EVA foam thing.
Yeah.
The cheapest place that I found to get it for bargain hunters is Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight?
We have one of those.
I mean, maybe in.
There's one 5 minutes from my house.
You live in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, Harbor Freight. So, hold on. Yes.
On that same subject, I'm hoping to plan out a first attempt at full armor cosplay. I was looking at Ava foam along other things. Just a quick opinion poll, as it were. I'm planning to do a really big full-on armor suit for Seraphimon from Digimon.
Okay.
So I was wondering what would be the best, inexpensive but decent
Ava.
kind of materials even bioreusable.
Okay, pull for a full bodysuit. Is it going to be more like an armor or like a fursuit?
It's gonna be like a full-on armor suit.
It's
Armor suit for a
yeah.
Digimon.
Like from head to toe.
Head to toe, and where? Well, what climate are you going to be wearing it in? Atlanta-ish convention, so you're going to be hot.
Ava foam.
Integrate a camelback. That's
Yes.
all. Or a place for a straw.
Actually,
Ava foam and I mean, I would test it out, pattern everything with Ava foam, and then decide what needs flexibility and what doesn't, and then cover it with whatever you want to cover it with. You can just do the plastic dip and paint, or you can cover thermoplastics and stuff with like fabric too,
Yes,
and
you
get
can.
a texture like that. I'm doing that for my Sivir costume next year because I don't want to paint crocodile skin. No.
And yeah, if you do want to work in some Warbler elements, I would say definitely. I mean, on cost alone, making the whole thing out of Warbler is going to be very expensive and very uncomfortable.
Wonderflex is cheaper, and Warbler can be used for detail.
Ava
It's a
foam
base,
is very
really. I mean, you can make
It's a base,
thing-
but I know people who.
Yeah, you can make everything out of Ava, but what the new, like if you want a more durable piece that's not, I mean, Ava's great, but there's a lot of accidents that can happen with it. If you add the thermoplastic on top, it makes it sturdier, it'll last longer, don't leave it in a hot car, but it gives you more room for more detailing, more long-term possibilities, and if you decide you want to sell it, it increases the value a lot.
That's true. The trade-off is going to be, though, that if you make it out of the thermoplastic at all, it's going to be very heavy, very hot, and you're not going to be able to breathe in it, so don't wear it for too long.
Yeah. Oh God, you were?
Yeah, okay. We're going to then you.
Yeah, we have 30 minutes-ish left, so.
I was going to ask about like nightmare sword from Soul Calibur. What could you make it out of to make it light enough to be able to move?
Say that one more time.
Sword from Soul Calibur.
Sword from Soul.
Sword from Soul Calibur is a giant sword. I was wondering what would be light enough to easily carry it, but sturdy enough that one and.
Foam core and
Yes.
Warbler or Wonderflex. Insulation foam is really light,
Insulation foam is light, but it's difficult to carve.
depending on what you get. The pink stuff is really good to carve. And you can also, I think it's Kamui who does a lot of
Yeah.
tutorials with carving. You
Yes.
can carve,
Look up Kamui Cosplay.
yeah, you can carve insulation foam, and if you screw it up, you can put expanding foam on top of it to correct your mistake and to add detail. And expanding foam is really cheap.
It's cheap, and it's also very toxic, though, so please ventilate if you use expanding
Yeah.
foam. Yeah, don't eat it.
Don't let your cats eat it.
Yes.
And that's another note. Please don't sand stuff indoors. Your cats can develop really bad. You and your cats and pets can develop lung issues, and it can kill your pets. Buy a ventilator for yourself and do it on the porch if you can. Even resin is toxic. Like
Resin is highly toxic. My
Think of the
ex-girlfriend
animals.
actually straight up broke out the last time she cast.
But yeah, that's
So-
a sidebar. But lightweight props, foam is good. You just have to be very careful with it. Pack it well if you're traveling with it on an airplane. I made my Umi Ryuzaki sword from Magic Knight Rayearth. I actually put a steel core in it. It was like 20 pounds. I got some really good arm toning that weekend. I know everybody was like, "This is so heavy," and I'm like, "I'm a badass." But it didn't
Definitely.
break. It didn't break on the airplane, and I just put it in a ski bag. But the rest of it was all Warblood and other stuff. But the core was all steel. So
Yeah.
it really depends on where you're traveling, what you plan for. Sometimes you got to sacrifice weight for durability, and vice versa.
Yeah, and foam
Yeah.
core really is amazing. And as far as props go, I found that Wonderflex works and looks better for props than Warbler. It's also
Yeah.
less expensive, and you generally are going to need more of it to cover the surface area.
And Wonderflex, I've discovered that I like Wonderflex for wide areas, like covering
Yeah.
stuff. You carve out your foam and everything, you cover with Wonderflex, and you use Warbler for detailing. Because Warbler works like a clay, Wonderflex is a sheet. You can't mold Wonderflex like a clay. It doesn't work that way. It's a net with thermoplastic on top, and if you bunch it together, it's ruined. But if you bunch up Warbler, you can turn it, you can mold it, heat it up, turn it into a clay, and create little things out of it and make it artsy again. But yeah, wood is another alternative, but again, it's gonna. I honestly don't make props out of wood anymore. It shatters.
I do some
as
wood
soon as I put it in a box.
swords, but yeah.
The TSA drop kicks, wooden props. My Ling sword shattered after 3 trips through the TSA because when they search it, they don't put the padding back on.
My Fushimi sword is only still kicking because I have not taken it to a con.
Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Very.
Okay, and who is next?
I think I had you, and then it was like...
Someone's paying better attention than I
Yeah.
am, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I've done cosplay once or twice, but I'm still pretty new to it. I have a friend who does it a lot more. She's planning a Tales of Abyss thing. I have a disc costume. I have a disc costume. I have a white wig. I'm trying to figure out how to style it and
If
fix
you
it up.
if you don't feel confident doing it yet, you can actually commission someone to style it for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I can give you a couple of names if you want someone.
Because it's old and probably it's cut up a little bit. I'm not sure.
If it's an
Yeah.
older wig, depending on how old it is and how quality the fibers are, white especially, I found that my
Yeah.
white wigs I go through more white wigs than any other color just because for some reason the fibers tend not to be as strong.
It's weird.
So yeah, so I'd say if it's really old, if it's looking kind of ratty, invest in a new one and either look up some YouTube styling tutorials, that's how I learned, or pay someone to style for you if you're not. I mean, there's no shame in commissioning anything, okay?
Yeah.
Like we've been doing this for a while.
We
and
like
I get
money
lazy.
and we like helping people. And
Yes.
I mean, hey, I've got student loans to pay. Please, give me your business. Is Amanda here? She's the wig person. No? She RSVP'd. Amanda doesn't get any brownie points today. So I was gonna ask her because she's our wig professional, as it were. But yeah.
Okay, so then I think my next one was you. Yes.
I just started learning to sew again
Yeah.
and made a rookie mistake in helping my daughter make her cape for her costume. I picked the wrong material. I
Uh-oh.
picked a knit material, which is not something we want to try to learn to sew on.
Oh no.
So I wondered if you could talk about materials that are better or easier to use, easier to get.
I'm a huge historical nerd, so I tend to pick fabrics based on historical accuracy. I know in anime that's weird, but every piece of fashion is inspired from historical fashion, which is great. I love it. Knits, you can sew knits as a beginner, but
You're gonna want to stabilize them.
yeah, you can stabilize it. There's a couple tricks you can use. Use a zigzag stitch. Don't stretch it when you're sewing. You can actually use wax or parchment paper, just kitchen parchment paper, and put it under it,
Yes.
and it'll stabilize, and then you just rip it away, and that makes it better.
Demon stitch.
Yeah, or wash and stitch and wash.
Yeah, stitch. All of those stitch and
Do you have
fix.
something to add to the knit conversation? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sewn with knits, but actually coffee filters work really well for sewing knit. and
If you're a
things like
coffee
that.
drinker, coffee filters
they do.
help too. I'm a tea drinker, so I'm all parchment paper all the time.
I do a lot of wax paper and like just the stabilizer. I've also done just tearaway interfacing.
Yeah, sergers are, if you
Sergers.
watch your local garage sales and Craigslist, because I got a vintage Juki serger for $60. It's like a $200 machine, and it was my first serger. It works great on sewing knits together, and it's made for knits. But if you can find them really cheap, especially older ones, and then when you feel confident with it, you can upgrade. I take mine to the shop, and I bought a backup serger. You tell yourself these things. You're like, oh, this is actually better than my main one. I blew $200 on a new serger, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been missing my entire life. Things go so much faster. But it's, especially if you're planning to go in it for the long run, like a cheap serger is great for knits, wax paper, other stabilizers. There's a lot of blog posts. There's a sewing blog called Colettery, I believe it's called.
Yeah, I've seen
And
them.
she has some posts about sewing knits and like stabilizing. If you use twill tape on shoulders to stabilize knits and stuff, it helps keep them from sagging. There's a lot of little tips and tricks. Knits are an interesting fabric, but if
Knits
All
will
that.
Coletterie.
Yeah.
I think maybe 2 L's.
We think.
Who knows?
It's early.
Google will probably correct my errors. But As for other fabrics, let's
Yeah, if
see.
you're
Don't
working-
make, I'm so, okay, sorry. Elitist moment. Don't use broadcloth for your costume. Unless you're wearing a quilt, don't do it.
Don't use costume satin.
You can use costume satin if you are supposed to look like you're a cheap Halloween costume.
Yes.
But there's enough resources to find cheap fabric, like quality cheap fabric, that you don't need to buy low quality fabric at low prices. And Joann's is not the only resource. Or Hancock's, I guess, is what they have down here.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. We're from another region of this country.
We have Joanne, Hancock, and a couple specialty.
Yeah, I use fabric.com a lot. It's hit and miss, but you can order swatches online, and you can get a lot of different materials. Your basic school uniform stuff, bottom weights is what they're called. They're twill weaves, like denims, etc. They come in a lot of colors. They look great, and they lay great, press fantastically. Cottons, you can use suiting. Suiting looks fantastic, drapes way better than quilter's cotton. And also great for school uniforms again, which is very common in our cosplay world.
Yeah.
And
basically, I mean, with fabric choice, your whole thing is going to be how do you want it to drape, how do you want it to lay. So on a cape, like beyond knits being kind of iffy because they, move around a lot for a beginner.
For that too.
They're also, they're also like...
They'll stretch when you wear them.
Yes, they stretch when you wear them, but also they're very light. So I made a Moon Dragon from Marvel Comics, and I lined it with a suiting bottom weight, and I used I lined it.
You can flatline knits to keep them from stretching with a non-stretch. So if you like the color and texture, but you don't need it to stretch, you can flatline it with a twill or some other non-stretch fabric, and that will keep it stable. And you can do that with other fabrics too. If you flatline velvets with flannel, it feels softer. It's
That's what I'm doing for Velvet.
It's like touching a panther, if you could do that. It's amazing. I don't know how to describe it. Go home and try it. Put flannel behind your velvet and just touch it, and it feels completely different than just the velvet. It's insane.
Was that helpful?
Oh, and another knit tip, that's it. If you are making a skirt or anything out of knit, hang it for like a week before you hem it, because that'll stretch it out, and then it'll finally drape the way it's going to when you wear it.
Gravity in
Otherwise,
action.
you'll hem it, and then it'll be all wonky because it's stretched. And I feel like I had something else, but I forgot, so I'll probably remember later.
It's cool. Yeah, just ask us.
When you're sewing a costume, this is a general tip, incorporate textures. Don't do all of one fabric.
Yes.
My rule is 3 textures. So, for instance, my saber costume, Fate, I did a polished cotton, which looks like a satin, so it's very smooth and shiny. Then I did a Dupioni silk, which is a matte but very textured silk. I know. Dupioni is my favorite. I abuse it.
Yeah.
And then I did a
face on
crepe,
it, it's bad.
like a very, crepe satin where it's got like the bumpy matte and then it's shiny on the other side. I used the matte side for the white, so I had 3 textures and it looked really nice and rich, and it makes it look really dimensional and expensive, really. That's a very good fashion principle to incorporate into your costumes.
Did we have next? Yeah, Kika.
Sorry.
That's you.
I'm sorry.
If you want to.
Okay.
I was just another question about wigs. When you have to add little extra colors, I believe there's a character, I've seen people who do Borderlands cosplay, there's a character who has red hair and then she's like a white streak. And sometimes I've seen people just paint it on and it doesn't really look that great. So why would you recommend making it look like
Weft.
You sew in a weft.
You sew in wig wefts.
You have to do it by hand and you will not enjoy it, but it looks better.
It sucks. They,
you can
sites
actually
like artists sell them.
dissect another wig too. Luke Kyle sells them too.
Yeah.
You can cut up another wig that you don't like.
Yes.
And just
That's what
take
I
the
did.
color.
Yeah.
In wigs, I'm not gonna take my hat off because it took forever to get it on. But there's your wig. Well, you all raise your hand if you have a basic idea of how wigs are constructed. Okay,
not bad.
well that's good. So for the people who aren't quite on board with it, wigs are pretty much like a head cap with a bunch of elastic bands up and down to fit your head. And then the wig hair is sewn into rows, so it's just one row of hair, all the way across, and they just do that over and over to create the effect of real hair. Each of those strands is called a weft. Each row of hair is a weft, and you can use those to make new wigs, add things to your wigs. If you need to make your wig thicker, you can sew more wefts in to give it body and volume, or a new color, or what have you. And they sell wefts like separately on various wig websites, or you can
Or eBay.
completely cannibalize a different wig and get all the wefts out of it and do it that way.
That's actually, I did Nishinoya from Haikyuu, and I wefted into the lace front. I just cut up an old Lolita wig that I had back when I was rocking the sweet Lolita.
And you can, you're supposed to hand sew it in.
Yeah.
You can machine sew it in if you're especially bald. But I got tired of hand sewing. I was gonna build my own Asuka wig, didn't happen. I gave up. It might happen someday. But yes.
Purple?
Did you have something to add?
I think the best example of like a character that has
Ryugo from
multicolors,
Kill la
like-
Kill.
Well, I was thinking more
Actually,
of like
My Little
Destined
Pony.
Kid from Soul Eater, how he's got the three.
So my
I'm still trying to
DTK,
figure out how to do that.
I
I
actually
actually did it. I
did
cosplayed
too.
him
Oh,
back
you
in
did?
2013, and
Did
me
you?
and my ex had to sew in the wefts in there because so many people try to paint it on, and it just gets. It
Don't paint
comes
on your
off
Death the
or-
Kid stripes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Death
I,
the Kid
when I
has a
did-
minor attack every time you do that.
Yes, he
Terrible.
does.
It's
What
not,
I
it's
did
not
for my
symmetrical. You're a huge
DTK.
disappointment to the Soul Eater Academy.
Yeah, what I did for DTK, I sewed in my wefts, attached them, and had like one under and one over, basically.
But if you do sew them in, it becomes kind of a styling nightmare to keep them
Yeah.
like layered correctly so they're showing out front.
Yeah, you have to, like I said, if you're over the age of 21, I would suggest a good tall glass of wine. I've got a good list of recommendations that are $15 a bottle. That's what, when I became an adult,
We do, we have a wine rack list.
we do. I became much better at sewing because I stopped being scared of cutting my fabric after I indulged. But yeah. And
So, purple?
You guys are talking about attaching fabric to thermoplastics. I was wondering how you did
glue.
Yeah.
Contact cement is actually the what's the word? There's a word there. Contact cement is the typical
Yeah,
way to
the
do that.
norm.
Recommended, whatever. I don't. There's a different word that I'm not using, but that's the idea. You can get
I
contact
have never
cement
used
for
it.
really cheap at Home Depot, and it comes in like a giant can. So, well, it comes in like either a little bottle with a brush in the lid, or you can get like a quart. And I got the quart because I'm going to need a lot of it. And you just stretch the fabric out over it and like clamp it or pin it down to keep it there. And once it dries, it covers the fabric, and you don't have to prime it. You don't have to do anything.
Yep.
And you come into the craft room and take the pins out, and you're like, I'm done. Except not, because you have to sew the rest of the costume still.
And if all else fails, glue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of glue, E6000 stuff, but contact cement is like the current like standard for sewing, gluing armor stuff together.
I've always done E6000. It's really toxic
Oh.
though, so please ventilate.
Back your fabric though if it's not a vinyl, because if
Yes.
it's and test it a little bit first just to make sure it won't burn through, because that does happen. Yes.
I have a question.
No more questions from you. No, I'm just kidding. Who's next?
only asked one question.
I'm joking.
You're good,
fine.
you're good. We like you, I swear.
I'm sarcastic.
I'll talk about contacts. If you have any recommendations for them or anything you should know for them people.
The party line is that
I'm
you should
out.
ask your eye doctor.
Yeah.
Um,
My eyes are
If I
actually
wasn't-
so sensitive, but I can't do contacts. I've tried. I can do
I'm
my
super
sclera for
desensitized.
Kaneki.
So I would the party line is that you should speak to your eye doctor, and I would recommend. Sorry, I
Yes.
just like ate the microphone. That was weird.
Oh.
You can go
Make it
online
weird.
to various websites in other countries to get contact lenses with good reviews without a prescription. You need to be careful and look for reviews. I will say the Korean FDA has stricter standards than the US FDA does for contact lenses, but the US FDA doesn't like you ordering contacts from Korea.
It is technically illegal to import them,
Well, it's technically illegal for people to sell to us without a prescription in the
Yes.
United States, but we're not
but we're not.
breaking the law by purchasing them.
You are.
But they're like, your eyes are going to fall out if you buy them, but
Yes.
that's not happening on as widespread a level as you would
They,
be led to believe by the FDA. But party line, talk to your eye doctor for your measurements so you know what'll fit and what'll be comfortable. If something isn't comfortable, don't wear it.
Yeah,
if it
she
feels
will say.
good and your eyes feel like they're breathing, you're fine. Only buy from reputable brands and make sure they've got the Korean FDA if you do choose to take that method. Yeah.
Okay, so you in front or next?
The question band one up here? No, I'm just kidding.
So my question was about clothing. So like a lot of
anime characters specifically have weird clothes. So it's not like you can just like take a trip down to Goodwill, be like, perfect, this is Asuna, wow. So like, what would you suggest for that? Like, cause I've seen it like on eBay and like Etsy, but I don't really trust those.
I always recommend making your own.
Go on Amazon or sew it, or buy something
Yes.
similar and alter it.
Yes.
If you don't feel confident enough to sew it yourself, you can buy and alter it.
Yes, if you want to start with a base, you actually can go to a thrift store, find something in the color with enough extra fabric that's kind of a general shape. So
I did that with the disc cosplay. I got a jacket at Goodwill and
Yeah.
I altered it and then I just built stuff.
actually, I was going to say, but I haven't done that in a very long time, but I actually totally did. I lied. I have my Kogami jacket here. I didn't want to make it.
So she just sewed fur onto it.
Yeah, I just sewed the fur onto the thing, and it's very hot, so I'm not wearing it right now, and I'm a bad dog, but...
We're in Atlanta, so you're fine.
Yes.
Like, do you have anything, like any specific kind of clothing you're thinking about, or just random weirdness?
Just like random stuff, because I've been sewing for a couple of years, but I don't really have like a good sewing machine, and it's not like you can just go get a pattern. And
Time to
wow,
upgrade.
this is, like,
You can... yeah.
I know, I'm always like, you should buy it.
Basically...
Really nice sewing machine, and a serger, and, yeah.
You know, get something and alter, make sure that you pin it first, make sure it's gonna fit.
Yeah.
Or if you really want, you can commission someone to make it. Make
You can
sure that you
commission
get
patterns too.
You can also commission.
There are people who will design patterns for you.
My friend Jessie does patterns.
On Tumblr or like on the internet?
I would do Etsy, and I know there's some,
There's some, my
Maybe
friend Jessie, Rufflebutt Cosplay does pattern commissions, I believe. I think Carrie does as well, Oni Romantic Designs. I'll give you some cards.
yeah, there's some, even if you Google it, you can find things and look for reviews too, but always look at their work. If their stuff looks gross, don't buy their stuff. Sorry, like...
Be careful with Tumblr.
Don't expect your work, don't expect your commission to be the magical exception to like bad craftsmanship, because that would be, I mean, it would be great, but it's probably not gonna happen. You were next, sir.
I have 2 questions.
2 questions?
Yeah.
What's up?
Alright, so first off, you're talking about contacts.
Uh-huh.
What about scleras?
Oh,
she's worn scleras. Again, don't wear them long. Wear them for pictures.
Definitely don't wear them long. Make sure you buy from a reputable brand. My friend actually kind of reps for Samhain. They're amazing. That's, what was that?
Samhain's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, well.
It's spelled Samhain.
Yeah. Okay, we're just not going to talk about my pronunciation.
The etymology of words with Devon and Rika.
Yes.
So yes.
But yeah, make sure, especially because scleras are going in your entire eye, make sure you buy from a reputable place. Those Halloween stores that are going to advertise, but oh yeah, we have scleras. Do not buy those. Those ones, if you get cheap ones, they will attach to your cornea and you will have to rip them off. I had a friend that happened to.
Yeah, those are the horror stories that you hear about.
It's largely with scleras where really bad things happen when people get the cheap ones. Okay, we have 10 minutes.
10 minutes left.
So
if
speed
you have a
question round. Speed question.
Quick, fast.
Sorry, are you familiar with the Kill la Kill cast of characters?
Yes.
Yes.
How would you go about making a wig for Louis Harine?
She's hair spirals, foam. Take foam, glue wefts. I've
seen
several
people
friends
use
who did
expanding
Bowie.
foam. Sparkle Pipsy has a good tutorial on using packing tape to get the curl.
Yeah.
With caulk, and then you use foam to sculpt the base of the pigtails.
So
As for
heavy.
weight,
I do foam. I
take
did
some Tylenol.
Ryoko, so.
Pray, run for it. Yeah.
Yeah, generally I would recommend making your spirals out of Ava foam and then just gluing your wefts. Like literally coat it in hot glue and stick your wefts on there.
Yeah, Sparkle Pipsy does packing tape, really thin packing tape with the caulk, and then you get a really thin spiral, and you don't get the see-through for the foam. And what was your question, sir?
In regards to cosplay shoes, buying online.
Say that one more time.
Cosplay shoes.
Shoes.
Yeah. Myself and friends, we bought them before online, and they look fine, they're great. The only downside is the sole was a really strong, pungent smell.
Oh yeah, that's China.
Yeah.
It's probably.
You're basically not.
It's probably in a
gonna
river
find
somewhere too. Think of all the fish that have like 6 eyes now.
you're largely not going to find really good quality cosplay shoes because most of those places you're going to order from are unfortunately cheap labor, cheap materials, therefore they might look okay, they're not going to be comfortable. That's unless you make them. I do boot covers. I hate boot covers, so I
buy
tend to say screw
aerosols
it.
and alter them. I have had 2 foot surgeries, so my foot hates me. I try to wear really comfortable shoes, and I do a lot of alteration or painting or what have you to make shoes that are comfortable, that I know are comfortable, what I need for a costume.
Yes.
And you can find them on sale at DSW and stuff, and then you know what works, and you can do what needs to work to make them wearable without the weird smell and all the other stuff.
Okay.
You, sir.
Speed round. Oh, it was still on? Yeah.
That's you.
Okay, yeah. You in the back. Jacket.
Were y'all heroes of cosplay?
What?
Heroes of cosplay on sci-fi?
What about it?
Were y'all on it?
No.
No.
God, no.
Sorry, I'm a real cosplay. I'm sorry. Whoa.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I run in some of the same
They're
social
very nice
circles.
people. They're very nice
Hana's
people.
not a nice person.
The show was not an accurate depiction of cosplaying, the hobby, how it's done. It's not, and that's not how competitions are run.
That's so not how competitions are
It's
run.
not that when competitions are run that way, it's not fair to the craftspeople. And again, the people on the show, great people. It's the producers of the show and the people who run the show, and I did not, I'm pretty sure nobody felt that was an accurate representation of cosplaying.
No.
So
yeah, no.
Again, I think they're great. Like the cosplayers who are on the show, good for them.
Chloe
Great.
is super cool, and Holly
Yeah.
Conrad and Jessica are amazing. I
Yeah.
love Holly. I used to talk to her.
They are real
back when she was
cosplayers, but the way they were
making
depicted, that entire thing was scripted,
I love
staged,
Holly.
and not a good depiction.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I love
And
Holly. I used to talk to her on
any
Twitter.
other questions? We have 6 minutes.
Seriously, speed round.
Yes.
So my question is about like boobs, like, cause like if
I don't have any.
I do.
I don't have any either. And what if I want
Good
like
job.
big boobs?
Bras. Okay.
Layer your
So,
bras.
layer your bras. Contour.
Start with one your own size and then go up from there.
Yeah, start with one your own size.
As long
What
as
I
you're
do.
covered.
Okay, so I'm
And you
pretty
can-
chesty. I'm bound right now. Sorry.
You can go.
Okay, so I've done this before. Just for my Black Widow, I did the comic boobs. Basically, start your own size, go up, stuff in between. Do like cutlets, not like chicken cutlets, but like
That would smell.
the boob cutlets.
That'd be gross.
Stick the boob cutlets in, and then contour the ever-loving hell out of your chest.
Okay,
Like
Flat
bronzer.
Eastern, drag
Yes,
queen makeup.
go.
You can contour your breasts a little bit to make it look a little, put some shadowing right in between to make it look like there's deeper stuff there. What you can do if your boobs are showing, what you can do for armor and stuff, you can actually use,
Also, you can make fake boobs.
yeah, you can. On bodices and stuff, I actually use quilt batting to build some padding in the front. You do a mock-up with muslin or what have you. So you have the shape of your boob, cut it out, make cups with like the quilt batting, build it up a little bit, and then you can have some fake boobs without having to, like, if you can't wear a bra with it or what have you, then you have that in the costume. But yeah. Yes.
Fangs in general, how would you go about doing that?
Generally,
do fangs.
I've done fangs. Generally, I recommend buying them. If you don't want to buy them, fake nails. They sell.
Shave down with
you
denture
shave
glue.
Yes, you shave them down. You get the denture glue, but don't stick them directly on there. Get they have the moldable. We're about out of time, so
Sorry, we got 5 left.
Yeah, it's the little pellets. You melt them down, basically fit them to your teeth, and then stick your
and then do the denture glue.
Yeah, do the denture glue, stick them in.
And there's tutorials online to do that too, but yeah, it's kind of a
I
hassle.
did
Don't
run
do it
for
in the
free,
hotel,
and
do it
that's
at
how I
home.
do it.
I learned that the hard way.
Yes.
I lost a fang down the sink. That can happen. All right, we've got 5 minutes. Any other questions? Yes.
I actually bought my costume this year, but how can I start sewing so I can sew my costume?
All right, Joanne's. Well, do you guys have Joanne Fabrics here?
I think we do. I go there every day.
Okay. So your local fabric
Lessons.
shop more than likely will have sewing classes. You can start with the basics and do a basic sewing class there. There are also online courses for sewing that you can use. You can buy a Learn to Sew book. There's resources online, but if you learn better with an instructor, then your local fabric shop will have resources for you to learn to sew because they do want more people to sew, so you can buy more fabric from them.
Yes.
and you can go into a variety of classes from apparel to quilting. I'm a quilter, and that's taught me a lot of fun techniques that do cross over to cosplay. But apparel sewing is probably more useful to begin with for you to get the basic principles. And again, online is a good resource once you get the basic foundation.
I never, oh my god, there we go. I never recommend that people start how I start. I'm completely self-taught. Again, I'm a very tactile learner. I learned by cutting things that I had up and figuring out how they went back together. Again, if that's how you learn, go for it, but most people do not, so go for lessons.
Okay, we have like 3 minutes left, so I'm gonna use this opportunity. In theory, I have some cards and stuff if you want to hit me up on Facebook.
I do not, but I can write my info down if you want my stuff.
Yeah, she forgot her cards.
Yeah, I do this every con, every show.
I forgot mine last time, but I remembered my camera, so go me.